Saving money used to be responsible. Today, it's quietly making you poorer. And most people won't realize it until years of effort are already gone. You've been told your entire life that saving money is the path to financial security. Put money away. Build an emergency fund. Live below your means. That advice is no longer neutral. In the current system, it is actively working against you. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Your savings account is losing purchasing power every single year, and no amount of discipline in your spending habits can fix that. You already feel this, even if you haven't named it. You set aside money each month with real intention. You skip the coffee. You decline the dinner. You watch your savings balance grow. But at the end of the year, you don't feel richer. Your paycheck hasn't moved much. Your stress about money hasn't gone down. The security you were promised feels further away, not closer. You're not failing at saving. Saving is failing you. And this has nothing to do with your willpower. Nothing to do with your intelligence. It has everything to do with a fundamental shift in how money works, one that was never explained clearly. The system changed. The advice didn't. For decades, saving worked. If you earned $10 and saved $3, that $3 held its value. Work, save, compound, retire. The math was simple because inflation was low and stable. $1 in the bank next year was still $1's worth of purchasing power. That world is gone. Inflation today is not a temporary event. It's structural. It's built into how money is created, how governments spend, how central banks respond to crisis. When purchasing power erodes year after year, cash stops being safe. It becomes a declining asset. Your balance stays the same. Your money buys less. The mistake isn't that you're saving. The mistake is where you're stopping. There's a second force working against you, and it's quieter. Opportunity cost. While your money sits in low-interest accounts, capital has moved. Ownership has moved. Real wealth creation no longer happens in savings. It happens in productive assets, in systems that compound faster than inflation erodes them. This doesn't mean the old advice was stupid. It was correct for a different monetary system. But you're not living in that system. You're living in this one. Most people respond to this reality in one of two ways. The first group ignores it. They keep saving the way they were taught. They stay disciplined. And year after year, they quietly fall behind without understanding why. The second group panics. They open accounts overnight. They chase whatever just doubled. They confuse urgency with strategy. They've identified the right problem and chosen the worst possible solution. The growth investor thinks differently. They accept reality without panicking. And they refuse to rely on hope. A growth investor doesn't save money. They deploy capital. Because saving isn't the goal. Compounding purchasing power is. Those are not the same thing. Saving is passive. Deploying capital is intentional. One preserves, the other grows. This requires a psychological shift. You stop thinking of money as something you store. You start thinking of it as something that works. What your money does determines whether you move forward or backward in real terms. Growth investors don't optimize for account balances. They optimize for what those balances will buy 5 years from now. That single change reshapes every decision. It means you don't keep excessive cash earning nothing. You keep enough for true emergencies. And you deliberately deploy the rest into assets with a reasonable probability of outpacing inflation over time. The specifics depend on your situation, your timeline, your tolerance for risk. But the structure is always the same. You are not saving. You are growing. This requires discipline, but a different kind. Not the discipline of restriction. The discipline of non-reaction. The discipline to follow a system when headlines are loud. The discipline to stay consistent when emotions push you to do something, anything. The average person saves and hopes. They hope inflation slows. They hope their savings are enough. They hope they won't need the money too soon. Hope is not a strategy. Growth investors build systems that work regardless of inflation, regardless of cycles, regardless of today's noise. They don't ask, how much can I save? They ask, how do I deploy capital so it compounds faster than my costs rise? That's the difference between safety and security. Safety feels like a full savings account. Security is owning assets that produce value. One feels comfortable. The other actually works. You don't need to be a genius to do this. You don't need to time markets or chase winners. The principles are simple. Own productive assets. Understand what you own. Allocate gradually. Let time do the heavy lifting. Stay disciplined when it's uncomfortable. That's the system. Most people won't follow it. They'll keep saving the old way. They'll keep feeling behind. And they'll keep blaming themselves instead of questioning the system. That's not judgment. That's pattern recognition. If you're here, it's because something about your current approach isn't working. You've been honest enough to notice. That awareness matters. The growth investor identity isn't about being smarter than others. It's about being willing to update your thinking when reality changes. Patience isn't passivity. Real patience is paired with intelligent action. You're waiting for compounding, not for permission. This isn't a 2-year transformation. It's a 10-year advantage, a path where your money finally works as hard as you do. If you're ready to stop relying on outdated advice, to build systems instead of chasing shortcuts, and to think in decades instead of days, you belong here. Subscribe if you're ready to stop saving and start growing.